Okay, so good evening, everyone. We're going to start. I know people are still coming in, and I'm sorry for the parking problem because Canada Post is on strike and they're using our parking lot. But thank you for coming again. This is part 2 of the OCC, Orthodox Cooking Channel. No, I'm just joking. For those of you who was here last time in Great Lent when we did the pros photo. Okay, so half. That's good. New faces, right? So last time I taught how to make pros photo, and it was wonderful. We didn't film it last time, so a lot of people said, "Oh, I wasn't there. I couldn't see it." So today we're filming. So try not to hit that table behind you because it's filming us and it's recording us. But today we're going to be doing Koliva. I don't know how to make Koliva. Sia is part of our Fr.TEDTalks. She's also our gramatea. Yes, she's our secretary, and she is extraordinary Koliva maker, right? And so she's going to be heading this up today. I'm going to jump in whenever I need to as far as the theological stuff. But she's going to take it away, introduce herself, and how long she's been doing all that kind of stuff. There's handouts with a little bit of information about Koliva and also the recipe that Sia is going to be using today. And of course, as we usually do, we'll let Sia kind of show the whole process. And if you have questions, we'll try to keep them until the end, right? Just so we can kind of move along and get to the end. And then, of course, at the end, if anybody has their own tips, please share with the group as well, because just like we did with the pros photo, some people do different things, works better. Koliva is no different, right? There's lots of different ways to do them and different kind of methods, right? And we are going to be speaking in English. If anybody has any problems with English, because the majority speak English, let me know. I can translate a little bit, but this is just the easiest thing to do, okay? Yeah. All right, take it away, Sia.
Great.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Father Ted. So I've been making Koliva for a long time, but I learned from Leah here at church. Unfortunately, she's not able to be with us today. And she learned the way that I'm going to show you today from past Fr.TEDTalks members. So this is a Prophet Elias secret recipe for many, many years. So if you follow along with the handout, you'll see that Koliva were handed out at funerals before our church. Actually, it's an ancient tradition, but then the Orthodox Church started doing it. It's related in part to miracles by Saint Theodore of Tyron. Tyron, yeah. So the first Saturday of Lent, Paschal Lent, we have a Psychosabato dedicated to him. So the main ingredient is wheat. This is whole wheat that's been boiled. The way that we boil it is that we put it in the water, we wash it. Before you put it in the water, you have to go through and make sure that there aren't any little stones. Sometimes there's different grains in there. I should put my gloves on. So you wash it, you put it in cool water with salt on the heat. Some people soak it overnight. We don't. This seems to boil well on its own. You will find differences in different types of wheat that you buy. So we boil it for about an hour. Until it comes to a boil. Strain it. The first water might be dark, so you strain it. You put it back on the heat with cool water again. I've learned, that you're supposed to do it 3 times, always in threes, in the name of Father and Son and Holy Spirit. And you let it boil for about an hour, and then you turn it off, and it slowly swells. And if you can see, I don't know if you can see from the back, some of them are actually split open. So along the seam of the wheat kernel, it'll split. That's when you take it off.
So you boil first, and the first boil is an hour, or just up to boil? No, up to boil.
The first up to boil, drain. Okay. Then you boil it again. I do it up to a boil, then I drain it again. Mm-hmm. And then the third time you boil for an hour. Mm-hmm. But you still have to make sure that it's not getting too soft, right?
Sure. And
you turn it off and let it sit until it's split. But it will become mushy if you leave it for too long, so you need to keep an eye on it. Okay? And the other thing to remember is when we refrigerate it, it gets a little bit harder, so it needs to be a little bit soft. We have to be really careful with bacteria. A lot of people, if I were doing it for a Sunday, I would boil it on a Friday. Some people leave it out to dry. I wouldn't recommend that because there's a lot of bacteria that can grow in wheat. So I would put it in towels. There's an explanation in your handout. On a clean towel, spread out in an even layer, like on a dining room table, for example, covered with a towel for an hour or something. When it cools, I wrap it up with that towel and I put it in a big basin like this and I put it in the fridge.
So you get the moisture out so bacteria can't grow?
And also you want it to be dry because we're putting, especially the sugar in. if the sugar makes contact with it before you actually bring it to church, it hardens. It actually becomes like candied, and it's not very nice to eat. It's not a good texture. Okay, so I'm going to put both of these bags in because there's quite a few of us here today. Measurements. I'm going to hate to say this, but it is metomati. There are measurements.
Depends on how big you're making. Yeah, so.
Metomati means with the eye or by the eye. There are measurements from the site
Not
that
the
I
eye.
put in your handout. We put much more than what it says there. So, okay, so that's sweet. Then, if you notice, all the ingredients that we add have significance. I don't have the handout with me, but I'll try to remember. Parsley and pomegranate seeds are supposed to be like, or not supposed to, they signify the freshness. If you've ever heard a service, it's like, in green pastures, like where we want our souls, or actually, sorry, I forgot to say that before you start all this, you should be like starting your timiato and your kandili, praying for your departed.
It's good to have an icona.
Right.
Timiato, kadilaki, δεν έχω φέρει kadilaki, αλλά yeah, any icon. I like the Anastasi because we're talking about death, resurrection, right?
So when you're, some people, when it's, they put anise seed in it too.
Anitho,
yeah. So when it's still warm, if you sprinkle a little bit, go slowly because it's a really strong taste. It'll like perfume the whole thing. Some people don't like it though, so it's up to you. We don't put it on here. So this is supposed to be like the freshness that we want our departed souls to be in heaven. We want to imagine them being like, carefree and happy where they are. So this is supposed to signify the freshness of paradise. We'll put that in.
En topo chloero, en topo fotino. Yeah. A place of light, of green pasture is the idea of that.
Raisins is another important element. It's supposed to be the vine, right? Jesus is the vine. So we always add raisins. I was always told that the little black currants are the secret ingredient, but we can't always find those. So we have golden sultanas and I don't know what the other ones are called. Light and dark raisins.
Yambelo.
Currants? Okay.
And they're a product of Greece.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Good.
Procurement, Maria.
So again, if you were doing this for a Sunday service, on the Friday when you're boiling the wheat, you would also like clean your oil, your pomegranate, cut up your parsley, wash it, cut it up, put it in the refrigerator, like with cling film. The raisins are really good if you soak them in water so they can plump up and be soft. But again, you have to put them in towels so there's not extra moisture clinging to everything. Okay. Almonds, slivered and toasted. They're supposed to represent the bones, I believe. Or this might make something else. Sorry. Fertility, nuts. Nuts are like fertility, yeah. So walnuts and almonds. And then we put sesame. Sesame and breadcrumb is supposed to represent, so I shouldn't be saying that. It does represent the earth. So I'm just going to put a little bit of it now, and you'll see what I do with the rest later. When I do it, my mom taught me to do it with ground dry chickpeas.
Oh.
That's what we use instead of stragali. Yeah.
Wow.
Tremendo. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's really expensive, so we use breadcrumb here.
Stragaglia are expensive these days.
Yes.
So is that
instead of the breadcrumb, I put stragali. Yeah. And then cinnamon is supposed to represent like the fragrance, when they buried our ancestors, like they would put sweet, smelling spices, and that's what the glicaniso represents too, if you put that in. And that's it. That's the filling. And then you just mix really well. And while you're doing this, you're thinking about whoever you're doing your sidari for, your Koliva for, and you say like or say a prayer for them. Or I was also told that every single kernel of wheat, when you hand it out at a memorial, is a prayer. So when you hand out the little cup to your loved ones when they come and they're taking it, like, you know, for sijorio, they're saying a little prayer with each kernel of wheat. Oh, the most important part of the wheat, though, is that what happens to a seed when we plant it, right? It becomes a plant. If you just keep the seed in the fridge and not do anything with it, nothing will happen to it. But if you put it in the ground and it dies, it becomes a plant and it bears more fruit. So same way, our bodies, when we're planted, when we're buried, we're being planted for the resurrection. That's what this signifies. Yes.
Did you mix this on the Sunday?
Yes.
On the Sunday?
I would do it on the Sunday.
Oh, the actual mixing.
Yeah.
So
I would prepare on the Friday and the Saturday. We do it here Saturday afternoon, and that's fine. So that would work as well. In the summertime, because we're putting sugar on top, it gets really humid in Canada, in Toronto. So maybe wait until you put the sugar on, until the morning of.
So follow-up question. Want it for a Sunday service Friday evening?
Yeah.
And then once you've boiled it,
yeah.
After you dry it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you are putting it together Sunday morning.
Yeah. If that's too close for you, like if you need to be here early, obviously, for the service, Saturday night would work as well. I do it on a Sunday morning. I get up and just put it together.
Honest, a lot of my aunts, they usually boil it Saturday morning, like early in the morning.
Yeah.
And then they lay it out to dry, and then later in the evening, they do the mixing, and that will work.
Yeah.
But why are you putting it in the fridge?
Because there's a really high chance of bacterial infection with grains. So I let it dry, like, because I'm putting it in the fridge, it's not as dry as an environment. So maybe that's why, like, it works out better for me to leave it all day Saturday. That's just how I've learned it. I don't know if it's that's how my ancestors kind of did it, but everything is always done in threes as far as when I learned to make it. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Yeah, the practicality of not setting it the night before is also like, what kind of tray are you doing? So if you're doing a big tray like this, which she is going to show you, it's curved on the top, right? But then sometimes you're doing a bowl where it's flat. And then the sugar, when it's curved, the more it sits, the more it might crack, depending on the humidity. If it's flat, right, it probably won't crack unless you shake it, right?
I've heard before you put the sugar on top, that you know how you mentioned they will grind the chickpeas.
You're getting ahead of us.
Jumping ahead there.
I'm just kidding. Yeah.
I was taught that when you boil it, rinse it, lines, and then lay it out to dry. That's like a longer process to wait it to boil. But then some people do it the night before. They boil it, turn off the heat, cover the pot with a blanket, and let it steam overnight. Recommend that, or is that
The wheat has changed as far as I know. Like the wheat that I buy, like from the Greek grocery, like Nikki brand, I'll say the brand, it doesn't boil as quickly as the ones that I buy from, for example, Metro or Food Basics or whatever. Soft wheat.
Yes. And I wouldn't leave it overnight either, because it might fuscosi too much.
Yeah,
and then it becomes lasponi. It's too mushy, right? It won't be good. Yeah, and I've seen that too. Sometimes people, you can tell with the Kolyva that they've been left in the water too long because they're sticky. The wheat is sticky. It still tastes good, but it clumps together, right? Yeah. So you don't want it to just like pasta.
Yeah.
Al dente. Okay.
Say it again. I've never heard that. I don't know.
So I've never heard that either, but that's not wrong, because again, we have topikes paradosis, right? So local traditions exist in Greece and in other countries as well. Not everybody puts sugar on top. Other people do. They actually will put the pomegranate, all the ingredients. They'll put them on the top. I had one yesterday, a memorial, and it was like that. It was like the wheat unmixed, and they had done a design with the ingredients, right, like a cross. And you'll see this more in the Slavic tradition, but not only. Some Greeks do it too. Cypriots, Russians, Serbians, right? You'll see they'll have it, and then they'll mix it, right, which is fine too.
My husband's family puts almond paste all over it. They divide it with the almonds.
Yeah.
The way you said, and then after when they're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's different traditions. Like on Mount Athos, the monks, they make these amazing Kolyva where they they'll make it flat, like in a pan or in a circle, and they'll put white powdered sugar or brown sugar, but usually it's white, and then they'll use like brown either either trimeno like stragali or even brown sugar, but they sit there meticulously and they make icons with the dust. Like the whole icon, the saint, like when they do like Yortes, whatever. Yeah, it's crazy, and then they destroy it all. It's like, oh, it looks so good. But so there's different local traditions. So boiling with the bay leaves from like the vaya from Tonvaillon, right? Or maybe somebody else will say, well, I like to put a little ayasmo in the water because some people also like when we bake the prosforo. It's like we say we use spring water, clean water, purified, and some people will I put a little ayasmo in, right? As a blessing. But again, these are kind of local traditions. Not wrong. There's nothing wrong with it, right? But it's not going to affect the bay leaves are not going to affect the actual recipe, right? So
Yes. The wheat?
Where are we buying the wheat? Yeah.
The one that I buy from Food Basics or Metro lately has been no. It's just like whole wheat kernels. I don't think it says kernels, just whole wheat.
Yeah. Ask Maria, she knows. She'll tell you where to get it.
Some of them say like some
softer
by the whole wheat.
Yes.
That says whole wheat.
Actually, if you open that left door there, we might be able to see what it actually says on it. Somebody asked, like, while she's doing that, somebody asked, like, for funerals, it's different. When you, on the left-hand side, there's a bin. Does it have a label on it? If you can't get it, don't worry. But
it's okay.
It's okay. Don't worry.
But I know that Nikki brand is at Highland.
Yeah. Somebody asked if this is the wheat that we make when we go to a funeral too, like if our close one has died and we're responsible for bringing the oil, the wine, and the wheat to the funeral. This isn't what we bring. We just bring plain wheat there. Nothing, no sugar, no adornment, no additions, just plain wheat.
So so at the funeral, again, we talked about this 2 weeks ago in the sermon as well. Plain, just the boiled wheat, right? And usually that goes on to the loved one. So in some places they'll give it out too, but it has no taste, because we're in mourning, right? So you're only mixing the sweetness at the subsequent memorials, right? So the 40 days usually is the big one, right? There's also the 9-day, right? But even the 9-day, you don't usually do a tray. You should just go to the tafel, the grave, and you do a trisayo with the priest. And even the 9-day, usually, traditionally speaking, it's just plain boiled wheat. Now, some people don't know, and they'll bring with sugar. It's like not the end of the world. It's still Koliva, right? But usually it's plain boiled wheat, and that's where it ends. You dry it out, put it in a small bowl. You bring it for the anointing of the body of oil and wine and wheat. Some people bring bread. The bread is not necessarily part of the thing. It's not bad. People are used to it, but it's like more part of the shako. It has nothing, like it's not actually written anywhere. Bring bread, although a lot of places in Greece they do it. They give it out, or they put some in the casket. But the bread is just an extension of the wheat. It's not a separate thing, or aparetito na varipsomi, like or arto or prosforo, right? So.
Yeah. Okay. So this is our mixture now. We're ready to go. The way that I prepared, like Father Ted said, usually for a big memorial, you'll have like a tray like this. Sometimes they use a silver tray. I know others have like wooden trays that they use. If it's a smaller occasion, you're not expecting as many guests, or if it's for a Psychosabato or something like a Saturday of the Souls, you would use a smaller bowl. Some people package it in bags already and put the bags out, so it's easier for... Is there any significance to that? You don't like that?
It's not. There's no significance. It was. That's a COVID thing.
Yeah.
It's like you do the preset baggies, right? There's nothing wrong with it per se. Do I like it? Not really. It's nice when you do the proper tray. Of course, it's more convenient to just give the baggies out. But I personally, I like the traditional way of preparing the tray properly with a proper design on top of it. It's part of your prayer process, right? And because then you do it, and then you mix it all up again. You put in the baggies. Yeah.
So that's the other thing that I find, like, it's comforting as part of our tradition, because we have so many traditions, especially after somebody dies. while you're doing this and while you're putting in like the parsley and the pomegranate, like hopefully you're having, you're trying to get not over, you're never going to be over your loss, but at least like you're happy, you're hoping that they're in a better place, and you're, you know, praying for them and doing something.
Physically doing something is very important for the mourning process, right? People underestimate how important that is. Doing like a physical task, just any kind of task, but especially when it's focused, right, is very, very important. And it's something that we're losing, unfortunately, right? When you all know this, if you're sad or if something bad happens, sometimes it helps when you just do something, right? Like I got to do something to focus myself, because I don't just want to sit down and be depressed all the time, right? So these kind of traditions where we kind of come around the family and we make our prosforo, we make our Koliva, we make our artus for yorti. These things are very important because it embodies, I'll figure out the Greek word, it embodies our faith. Like it's a physical, you're putting your faith, which is not just here, you're bringing it into like manifestation, right? It's, yeah, in somatoni, right? I was going to say in sarkoshi, but it's different. In somatoni, right? So it's like basically you are bringing your faith into actuality, right? You're actualizing it, right? And that's why I said, I got no philoptos. You might lose some money here with all the orders of Kolyva, right? But I would prefer, though, that's good, though, not good for philoptos, but you know, it's like, it's good, though, I would like it that everybody made their own Kolyva. Like, of course, the philoptos prepares this with love and support for the community when people cannot do it themselves. But the ideal would be that we all make our own Kolyva and not order it from somebody else. It's not a sin, but you're kind of like missing out on this whole process. Just like when we talked about the prosforo, say I went and ordered it from Serrano. Well, it's not very good from Serrano, but even if it was excellent, even if it was perfect prosforo, you didn't make it. So it's not your prosfora with your prayers and your love, right? It's with your money, sure. It is a prosfora, but it's better not to φτιάξεις μόνος σου, like to do yourself, right? Same thing with the Koliva. I try, even if they're not that great. I'd rather take not so great Koliva from the house than the perfect Koliva from the bakery, right?
Okay.
There you go.
So now when we're setting the tray up, we do it in a cross. Again, like always, significance of threes and crosses and prayer.
Is this cellophane or plastic?
Cellophane.
So she's just basically pouring it in a cross.
And then you fill in the quadrants. So you try to do it like a mound. So I'm going to pour it down to the corners. I'm making a mound. It signifies the... Oh, sorry.
Well, here. Yes. And the...
So I did the cross, and then I'm filling in the quadrants. And it signifies the tomb.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah.
The tomb. So you start with a cross, and you build up the mound, and then you fill in the four quadrants, right?
And then it's really important as you're going, as someone mentioned before, that it cracks very easily. So as you're going, like start pressing down so it can compact as much as possible. Like
Looks like a burial mound. Yeah.
There's not a lot of pressure that's needed, but you need to. So I'm letting it fall from the middle, but you can also reinforce the corners too.
Because then it's even all around. Yeah.
Now we just use the doily here. In Greece, they actually have like, I don't know if they have them here too, but I've never seen them, like long, like ribbons of paper doily, I guess. We just use rectangular doilies. Yeah, you can just pour it on.
How much starter are you using for that?
There was 2 bags, so that was probably like a full bag. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you toast the sesame seeds too, or just the almonds?
We toasted the sesame seeds too.
Sorry, can I ask you to do the side of the cross as well?
You can with your hands. When you're pouring it in? Yeah, you can. Doesn't hurt. Right. Okay. So it's not gonna like, so when people pick this up, it might shift. These are hard, but it might shift. So just try as much as you can to compact it and be as gentle when you're moving it around as possible. Okay. So now this is like, if we put sugar on top of this right away, the moisture is going to come up. Even though it's pretty dry, it's still like in the refrigerator, it still has some moisture. So what we do is we top it with extra sesame seed.
That will absorb the...
It was interesting to see the one that I found that I included online. I think it was Mount Athos. They recommend putting coconut. I had never heard of that before.
It's sesame.
We've ground it.
Yeah, it's ground.
Yeah.
And toasted.
Toasted and ground. So it's quite a liberal, I would say, but even layer.
So does this absorb the moisture?
Yeah. And then the breadcrumb, or the stragali, the chickpea, or some people put paksimadi. But be careful not to put paksimadi like with eggs and stuff. It's still supposed to be, just in case it's Lenten or it's supposed to be a Lenten thing. Some people do. Yeah, some people
like
put graham cracker.
So like a cookie versus a frigaña.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a frigaña.
This is frigaña. This is like frigaña. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Can I ask the sesame seeds grind or
We grind them. I haven't seen them ground. They're not completely ground. Like they're just. You can come by and see it afterwards if you want. In the food, and then in the food processor. Yeah.
So yeah, is it a food processor?
Yeah.
So the question was the sesame seeds. Do you grind them yourself or do you find them ground? And we haven't found them ground, so you have to put them in a food processor as much as you can. Yeah.
There. So it's hopefully an even mound, as much as possible. Can everybody see? Okay. Okay. Now comes the sugar. Sorry, you had a question? Yeah. As Father Ted said, some people, like in some parts of Greece, I think, use crystallized, like regular sugar on
or
top.
Brown.
Sometimes. Or brown, yeah. We don't. We use icing sugar. This is what I've always used
Most
as
people
well.
use icing sugar.
Yeah. So it's just regular icing sugar. I'm just putting it in here so it's easier to handle. What we do is we put a little bit around the edges first, because the edges are always the ones that don't get evenly covered with a sieve later.
I never thought about that.
See, sending out all the secrets.
I never thought about that.
And because we have the cellophane, it actually is going to come in handy, as you'll see in a second. If there's any questions, feel free to.
Any questions? No? I would never have thought it.
A tip that I know my mom does to help compact it is like a big spatula and like uses it.
I'm guessing the cellophane is going to be doing something about this.
Yes.
Oh, makes sense.
And you kind of like feather it into it so it doesn't leave a mark.
Brilliant. It looks so nice. Yeah. That's Aliyah innovation. Is this
actually Kiria, the lady before her, Kiria Betty. Yeah. Oh no? Oh, so maybe it is Aliyah. Leah, sorry, I thought it was Kiria Betty. So if she's listening.
Leah fan.
Okay, and then gently and evenly cover it with sugar. So the other thing that the separation of the breadcrumb and the sesame does is, like I said before, the sugar in contact with the wheat, especially if you do it like the day before, it's going to start hardening the wheat, and it's not a very nice texture. in your mouth, like a mouthfeel. So this protects it.
So first sesame, then breadcrumb.
Yeah, because the sesame still has some texture to it. So.
What if you screw it up and you do like, it doesn't matter?
Like I said, the sesame still has some texture to it, so it might not be smooth, but at the end of the day, it's no big deal.
But the barrier will still work for the moisture?
Yeah.
It'll make a difference.
Okay, so there's a good amount of sugar there. And what we do is we get a clean paper towel. We can do the cellophane on the edge as well, but I'll just do it this way for now. And again, firmly press and mound. Like here, when you're doing this, you might see some cracks forming underneath.
Oh. That's very nice.
See, some cracks are starting to form. So you fling this, and we just put another layer of sugar on top. Sugar solves everything.
The answer is always more sugar.
But because the cracks have formed, we're just going to put a light layer on top because we like this, I don't know that's how it's called in English, but the spicroto look. And because those cracks were minor underneath, this extra little sugar on top is just going to cover in all those little crevices. That's it. Ta-da! We're done. Okay.
I had an argument with my mother because she insisted it was wrong. I said, it's not wrong.
What was wrong?
Sugar on top.
Oh, that it wasn't perfectly flat? No.
But it wasn't, yeah. Old school. Drove me nuts.
So now to decorate. We have a whole bunch of silver dragées here. You can also have the white Jordan almonds that you can use. Can you show me what you had with you? There's ready-made ones that you can buy.
I actually make these.
Oh, you make them?
I make them.
She innovated. She actually created herself. It's like a see-through. It's smart. So she did it like a synthetic, like a see-through synthetic. Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's flexible, so it molds to your whatever. They're usually domed, so it molds to your Koliva.
Yeah.
And then she has the letters too.
Yeah. I have the
Yeah,
letters.
chyba ali faz mal. Reusable. Και το βάζεις έτσι.
Very nice.
Είναι ωραίο όμως, είναι διαφανές. Είναι διαφανές. Και φαίνεται το άσπρο ανάμεσα, right? Yeah.
Or you could just use the individual ones. Oh, there's also these other, I bought one, but I forgot to bring it with me today. There's also these wooden stencils. They're actually made out of wood, and they either have a cross or Jesus Christos Nika or something like that, and you put a little bit of cinnamon on top. Or
You can make your own.
Yeah.
No,
I got it at the monastery, but
You can even make your own. Like literally, you can literally either draw something or print a stencil of any Orthodox, let's say, cross design. And if you have a little X-Acto knife, you can cut it out. You can overlay it, and you can do brown sugar, or you can do something else where it's like contrast color. You can do that too. Yeah.
okay. So I'm just going to do it with these. I'm going to use these teardrop ones to do a cross.
How do you do it without your fingertips hitting the? Because I got big hands.
Tweezers.
Tweezers. Because once you screw it up, then you got to start all over again. Right? I tried dropping from afar. I can't do that. Maria, where do we buy the silver candies? Serrano has them. Yeah. Most Greek bakeries. Yeah. And again, even though these are like the traditional, the sinithizmena, like what you used to, you don't have to use those. You can use really this style, like we usually use the silver, but you can use other things. You can use almonds. You can even use, I've even seen red pomegranate. Like, you can do other designs, yeah. Yeah. Αλλά μπορεί να βάζεις και ρόδι και από πάνω. Ό,τι έχει χρώμα, like the design. It's not bad.
But you're not supposed to.
What?
They're called they're called dragons.
Dragé.
Oh. What, these?
Yeah. So they are technically made of like edible materials.
Uh-huh.
But like you're gonna break your teeth.
You're going to break your teeth on these too. I call these the teeth breakers.
Yeah, you're technically not supposed to eat them.
Well,
If you are going to use like pomegranate especially or parsley, some people, like we were talking before, do it in quadrants and put parsley or pomegranate. If you're going to cover the whole thing, fine. But if you're only going to put little pieces of it, you have to make sure that they're extra dry, obviously, because the sugar is going to melt really quickly.
yeah.
What if the names, putting the letters?
Same thing.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now. Yeah. So the cross is the most important part.
Usually you put the initials, right?
And then the initials on either side. Yeah. I won't put initials today. You guys are going to be here for a while. So we got a cross. And then like you can do whatever you want. The way that I was told is like we're representing again heaven. So this is supposed to be like stars and like celestial and happiness. And as you're doing it, like even it says in your handout, you're supposed to remember the sweetness. So even though you're in a really, really painful period, remember that they're in a better place. And
resurrection, yeah. Salvation.
Yeah.
So I'll just do like a simple, we won't go crazy. If there's any questions, feel free.
There's no right and wrong. It's your free.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the essentials, which is you got to prepare the wheat properly.
Right.
So it doesn't, so it's not, that's right. But yeah, design is up to you. Like it doesn't have to be one thing or the other. Yeah.
Can you put two people's initials on there? Or does it have to be one person?
That's a good question. So yeah, like you could, in theory, if you're commemorating two people, like let's say, for whatever reason, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Most people do one at a time because most people are celebrating one. So the question was, can you do two people on the same Koliva? Technically, yes. Like most people don't. Why? Because most of the time you're doing a memorial for one person. Few people are commemorating. Like do people pass away together? Let's say an accident or something like that or whatever. But there's nothing wrong with putting more. It's just not as common to see, right? But yeah, you could put the initials.
But maybe you can talk about when to do them though too, because you don't need to do it like on an anniversary. You can do it anytime you want, right?
Yeah. So some of the myths, I guess you could say, not myths, but like misconceptions, is that you can do this anytime. What are the official days of memorials? Does anyone know? After someone passes away, the official. Well, no.
What's
the first one? It's a very small number. 3, right? Now in Canada, we miss the 3 a lot of times. Why? Because our funerals take forever here. Okay? So by the time we get around to the funeral, it's the 4th day. That's fine. In Greece, it's very strange. I had somebody was telling me, not here, somebody was telling me that they were in Greece and something happened and they couldn't do it, and the papa was really upset because they didn't do it. They didn't prepare the body fast enough, and you couldn't do the 3 because they're so used to doing, because you bury the next day in Greece, right? But here in Canada, it takes a longer process, right? So usually the 3rd we miss. Sometimes in certain situations we miss the 9 because it's just because sometimes who knows why, right? But like there are situations, right? But the point is that we usually do the 3. Why is the 3? Resurrection, 3rd day, resurrection, right? 9 is the tricky one, and Yamera. Most people skip it or they don't know about it. And usually it just happens at the gravesite. Why is 9? What's the number 9? Anybody? Yeah. Not just the angels. There's 9 ranks of saints and angels, right? That we commemorate, right? Within the church. And so again, there's this idea of like ranking, almost like ladder to heaven, like, and so there's a theme here, right? It's like, so 1 is resurrection, again, going up. 9 9 orders of saints and angels. Again, this idea of a ranking system, movement towards God, right? And then you have the next one is after 9, 40. Anybody know why we use 40? Anybody who's been in a funeral with me, you should know because I talk about it all the time. What's 40? Big number in the Bible. That's yes. So there's Seratismo. I didn't even think about that, to tell you the truth, like in the sense that it's not something I would have thought of, but it's not wrong, right? But the 40 in the Old Testament, what's 40? What's a big 40? I'll give you a hint. 10 Commandments. Yeah, so Moses is on Mount Sinai for 40 days. To get the Decandoles, right? The commandments, right? And then the Israelites, they sin, right? They have the golden calf. And then to purify themselves, it's 40 years in the desert, wandering around, right? That sucks, right? Purification, right? And then Jesus, after he gets baptized, what does he do right after he gets baptized in the River Jordan? Yeah, he goes into the desert for 40 days where he fasts, gets tempted by the devil, prepares himself to start the ministry, right? 40 days, purification again, right? And then you have after the Anastasi, how many days is Jesus seen on the earth in the resurrection form? 40. Analipsi, ascension, right? It's 40 days after, and then you have Pentecost 50 days after, right? So 40 is such a big number within the Bible, and it usually has again this theme of illumination, of moving from this life to the next, purification, right? All these themes are rolled up into this number 40, right? So we do 40 for this reason, this idea that the soul is, it's on a journey. It's leaving this life and it's moving into the next life, right? Now, there's a lot of extra stuff, like different memorial myths and things like that. The soul's floating around in my spiti. That's not true. In my house, put a glass of water out so the person can drink, all this kind of stuff. It's like, I've heard these things like, Evelyn Naraki, and look, the water went down 2 days later. I'm like, it's called evaporation. But they think that the soul is coming and drinking, things like that. So these things are more, village kind of traditions, but they are not official teaching of the church. The numbers are symbolic. It is not magical, right? That's why people, when they get caught up with, do I have to do it before the 40 or after? Oh, I'm like, or other people say it has to be after. It's really weird, right? Depends on who you are. And I always say it doesn't matter, really, theologically.
That's what my question was.
Doesn't matter.
Because my mother
yes.
insisted that it has to be before.
Because something bad will happen to the soul. Okay, that's not true. Okay, you pick, you try to do. Like, if you can do right at the 40, great, right? But sometimes you can't, right? So sometimes you go a few days before, a few days after. The number is symbolic. It's not like if you don't do it on that day, the soul can't get into heaven or something, right? But okay, they said these things, but don't be so freaked out about these things. Like, it's a symbolic number, right? So it's 3, 9, 40, and then what is it? 1 year.
No?
Now, it's not wrong to do trimina, but all that stuff is extra. It's not official. Some places do trimina, some of them do 6, other ones say 9 months. Different parts of Greece. I don't know where they came up with this because it's not the official kind of. The official is, then you go to the year, which is the anniversary. It's not a symbolic biblical number. It's the anniversary. And of course, for families, it's difficult, the anniversaries, right? First year, right? And then of course, all the firsts are difficult, right? When you lose somebody. And so it's really good and important to, at the anniversary, we come back together as a community, we support each other, and we pray together. This is why our memorials are so powerful, because the whole church is there praying with us, right? And giving us support. We're not alone at home, which is not good to be alone. And so that's the official. You can add more. It's not bad. Like if you say, I want to go do a memorial anytime, go ahead. There's nothing wrong with it.
Question for you.
Yeah.
So is it 40 days and the year from the day they passed?
From the day they passed. Yeah, not from the funeral, because the funeral can move. It's not the funeral. It's from the day they passed. It's a good question, though, right? And yeah.
It's also an old wives' tale that it has to be like an odd year versus an even year.
I don't even know
you
that.
can do it whenever you want, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
Odd year?
Some churches actually say it's customary to do one.
But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter though. It's the old wives.
I have not come.
turned into.
I have not come across anywhere in the church that it says these things. That's the problem with websites. So depends, right? Yes. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah. Some people do.
After that, like I know my mom will say she won't do sit down, she'll do prosper.
Yeah. So the prosper is different. That's a good question. So the first part is some people they'll do the year, and then after that they'll do every 3 years, or they'll do the 3 years and that's it. That's personal preference. I like to do memorial every year for my grandparents. Other people, they do every year. That's what they want to do. That's fine, right? I like that personally, my personal preference. But some people, they'll do every 3, and then some people don't do anything after that, right? Every family is different, but the church doesn't mandate Doesn't say you have to do after that. After you get to the year, which kind of closes in the loop of the whole death experience, the mourning, right? Although mourning takes longer than that. Then after that, yeah, you could do every year. You could, as I said, like it's not a sin to do a memorial, right? It's just we got to separate what is aparetito, what's like mandatory, what we should do as an obligation, as our own Orthodox obligation for our loved ones and for the church. And another thing is that what we don't have to necessarily do.
But would the
Right.
prosphoro be like a substitute?
So the pros for the second, the prosphoro is not a memorial. This is the confusion, right? And we talked about this for those of you who are here for the prosphoro, right? The prosphoro is for Holy Communion. The priest uses it to take pieces out that become the body, right, with the blood of Christ, right? And so the prosphoro has a stamp, and I'm not going to go through all this, but the priest, and then you give names of the living and the departed, and the priest puts a crumb for every person who's alive and every person who's dead. In every liturgy we do this, right? This is commemoration of the dead in the liturgy, in the Eucharist, in the Holy Communion, but it's not a memorial. And people get confused. That's why sometimes somebody might come to me. Once I had a lady came and she came and she brought me a prosforo, nakano emotional, with a keri in it. And she didn't know any better. Like it wasn't her fault. Like because other people just said, canto, right? And I said, okay, listen, I'm going to read the prayer obviously for you, but this is not a memorial. They do it at other churches. I'm like, I don't care what they do at other churches. It's not right, because this is not this. Like because then people get confused and then they start thinking, well, I don't want to do all this, right? So I'm just going to get a prosphor and stick a candle in it. It's not the same thing, right? So we're confusing the traditions and we're confusing the purpose of making it, right?
If
So
it's
don't
not
bring
a
bread.
memorial, though, it's not going to memorial if you don't do the study. But if you bring your prosforo
Yes.
and you include the name of the departed, but not a fulminoshno, is that okay too? To include
We always do that with the prosphor.
Right.
With the prosphor, you always put hyperigias and hyperanapopsios
So
for
you can
living
put that.
and for the
I'm
dead.
saying though, like for hyperanapopsis, it doesn't have to be accompanied by an emotional.
No.
Right.
The emotional is like a separate event when you are marking the passing of somebody for a specific reason.
It doesn't need a prosphoro.
Doesn't need a prosphoro. As I said, the prosphoro is for inside. It's for the priest to incorporate those names into the divine liturgy. You could do that every Sunday. Every time you go to liturgy, you give a prosphoro. You give all your loved ones who have passed away and all the people who are alive, because we're all inside the body of Christ together, right? So that's a different dimension to the faith. You can say, okay, what's the difference, Father? Okay, I'm still commemorating. Yeah, you are, but it's a little bit different. You understand? Like it's a different thing. One is for Holy Communion. One is specifically for a standalone memorial service, right? And so that's the difference between those two things, right? Siwa Sabato is the same thing. Siwa Sabato is Sabato is always the day of the dead in the week, right? We have different, every day represents a different thing, right? So Saturday is always the day of the dead. So technically, we say, oh, we do like 5 Siwa Sabato. No, you can do Siwa Sabato every Saturday. Technically.
Isn't this technically
right?
supposed to be on the Saturday as well? La Mnemosyna?
Yes.
Yeah.
Technically, according to the canons of the church, we're forbidden from doing memorials on Sundays. Did you know that? Απαγορεύεται. Όλοι σε λάβουν κάνουν. Όλοι τα κάνουν τώρα. Everybody does it. That's the problem, right? So we're not supposed to. Why are we not supposed to do memorials on Sundays? What Sunday? Happy, it's resurrection, right? So technically, you're not supposed to. You're going to say, Father, why do you guys do it? Because we're dumb. And we allow it because people don't want to go to church twice a week. So they want to do one-stop shopping. I hate to say it like that. Like we don't want to go on a Saturday. I'm working on a Saturday. So we're accommodating our people. Like it's our fault as priests and bishops and everybody, right? Instead of saying, no, Saturday is the day of the dead. Saturday you do, if we have to do Siwa Sabato every Saturday to accommodate, then you do that. But nobody will come because people don't prioritize that over other things, right? So we're adding them on to Sunday, which makes Sunday very, very long. It changes the character, if you notice, right? It's such a festive, bright day, especially if you have a big yorti, and then suddenly now, we switch now, and we're putting out candles, and we go somber. It's very weird, right? It's like you're switching gears, right? But this is what we have, and it's not up to me to stop it. So, yeah, that's another one.
Right. One question back to
Yeah.
Siwa Sabato.
What do you mean?
Prosphoro and Koliva.
You can if you want. Yeah, it's two different things.
The Koliva is the most important.
For the Siwa Sabato, if you're going there, it's the Koliva, right? You're doing a memorial, right? But if you want to give a prosphor inside for the liturgy, if there's a liturgy, yeah, of course. But again, two different things, right? Yes.
So for the Koliva, I know everybody brings it, and some people put the candle in it, and some put the candle.
Doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't make a difference, right?
No, it doesn't make a difference. Yeah, as far as the candle.
So other arguments. With the letters, does it matter if you put the letters on the top or on the bottom?
What do you mean?
Like the initials?
along. I don't care. It's a design.
It doesn't matter. Okay.
No, so there's no rules for that. Yes.
So for the 40 days of the year and that, should you not also bring a person with?
You don't have to. You don't have to. Yeah. Again, I'm just trying to say it's two different things, right? So we have to kind of like understand that things are connected, but they're not paqueto. Like they always have to go together, right? So it was actually it's the same thing I was saying about the oil and the wine. Remember who was there on Sunday, a few Sundays ago, right? And it was one of a couple of weeks ago. It was one of the new videos on my channel on Fr.TEDTalks. It's memorial myths. Look it up. I talk about that, like because people get confused. The oil and the wine, you only need it for the kivia, right? Now, once the kivia is done and you've anointed the body and everything, we're done that, right? Done. So after that, then you go to, let's say, mimosono sarada, right? When you go to the church with your tray, you bring oil and wine, but the oil and wine in that case has nothing to do with the dead person. It's a prosphora to the church. You're saying thank you to the church for praying for your loved one. So you're giving something to the church that the church can use. And what do we use the most of? Oil, because the kadilya, we go through a lot of oil, and wine for communion. So we bring a prosphora along with our Koliva for the church. But people connect it with the mimosono, it's got to be about the dead person. And the reason why I bring this up, I'm separating the two. You have to separate in your mind. When I go to the church, I bring the prosphora, right? And even if you don't, let's say the nefer is ladi kikrasi. It's not the end of the world. We're still going to read the memorial. This is the most important thing. But where do people get confused? Because they see people when they go to church, they bring the memorial, they bring ladi kikrasi. When we go, let's say you're not going to the church, you're going to the tafel, the grave. They bring ladi kikrasi to the tafel, and they want the papa to pour it. They say, "Pate, tocano me kemis." I'm like, not really.
So
they do it in Greece. I'm like, not really. In some places, they're doing it in Greece now too because they're making the same mistake. It's logical, right? Like I saw oil and wine at the church. I don't know why I'm doing it. I'm just bringing it, right? So I'm going to bring it to the tafel, and then we, as the priest, it's our mistake because we don't want to be mean, so we pour it.
But you add it during your burial service, don't you? On top of the savano.
The burial, yes, for the burial, but that's done.
Okay,
You've already anointed the body. When you go do a memorial later for 40 days, there's no reason to bring oil and wine to the tafel and pour it on the grass. People want to do this. Northerners love to do this. Macedones love this, right? Sorry, right? They love it, right? It's like salata on the grass, right? Right? And I feel bad. And so I try to say nicely to the yayadas. I'm like, okay, but I understand, but just do it. Like they won't go until I do it. It's like, okay. There's no reason. It's not in the book. There's nothing. There's no theology here.
At a funeral, though,
Yeah.
you don't have to bring the oil and the wine to the cemetery.
No, you don't. Usually we bring what's left over. Yeah. So this is like So again, clarification. The old way to do it, not the old way, the more traditional way is that you finish the funeral at the church, you go to the cemetery, you open the casket at the cemetery, you pull the savano there, you do the Kolyva, the wine. That's why you're bringing the oil and wine to the cemetery, right? And you do the anointing there, and you close it. This is how it's done in Greece. And we still do it sometimes here. In Canada, what? Yeah, again, so it's like whatever's left over, we throw in because it's used for that purpose, right? But that's not like a theological thing, not so like whatever's left over into the grave. It's just what am I going to do with that now? Like, right? So
does it have to break?
Right?
Does the
I'll get to that. Don't even start with that. Don't even start with that. But because in Canada, a lot of times, practically speaking, especially in the winter, we've become accustomed to doing it at the church. So we just do it at the church. It's easier. A lot of people don't want to reopen at the cemetery. It's not bad because as long as you you say your goodbyes, you do the covering, you do all that, you don't need to reopen again, right? But if you don't do it at the church, of course you got to reopen at the grave site, right?
You don't have to bring the oil in that to the...
Yeah, but like the thing is, if they bring me like a whole bottle, like we will bring that with us, right? And we just throw it in at the end. Or if we have any Koliva left over, they made a lot, we throw it in or sprinkle a lot. But that's kind of like more part of the shako. It's like traditional to kind of get rid of the remnants of the offerings, right? But if you have like for example, I did a funeral today, and we had 2 little bottles, right? Which is all you need. and we had a little bowl of Kolyva, like half of this, right? So everything went in, and it closed. I didn't have to bring anything. There was nothing left to bring to the. But some people said, "Well, why aren't you pouring?" It's like, so we gotta just understand like the practicalities of it, right? And breaking the bowl, don't do that. It's superstition and it's not good. It's not good. Don't do that. I don't know. I don't allow it. I don't allow it. Some people do it, but yeah, don't. I don't like that stuff.
And to not bring anything home from the funeral.
All these other superstitions, stay away from the superstition. You know, don't bring anything home. Don't bring the bowl home. Tragedia. You know the water after.
That's not proper.
What are you washing off? Death.
Yes.
We're not Jews following Leviticus.
I thought maybe it's.
We're not unclean, right? So we do it still. We still do it today. I think if I went to.
That's more.
It's part of the shakol.
Saying your goodbyes if you're touching the body because of like the formaldehyde.
No. It's very clearly a superstition that you're washing death off, so you didn't take it home with you. These are burdas because we don't care because we are not.
Says it's wrong.
We are not made unclean by dead bodies, as it was in the Old Testament. Yes, the symbolic washing of the hand before the Makaria, okay, is not good. We do it because if you don't do it, people freak out. So we have it here too at Makarias, right? But I try to tell people, I walk in, they say, Pater, I'm like, no. Right? And the women freak out. It's like, no, because there's nothing wrong with you because you touched the body, right? Because for us, the body is holy, right? So there's nothing unclean about it, right? Well, you're washing because they used to like dig the grit. No, that's not why. The tradition or the fake tradition is because it's Levitical. It's this idea. It's like a pseudo-Levitical kind of thing where you got to wash off death, right? And we don't need to do that as Orthodox Christians, right? So
you're gonna come back, okay?
Yeah. Towels. Yeah, towels is interesting because I never heard. I don't see towels in Greece. People claim that it's some places in Greece. I don't. And the towel thing again is like it's not religious. Like traditionally, maybe you do it. I don't have a problem with it if you have the towels, but
The funeral homes, they use them to help carry.
yeah, maybe it's a practical thing. Maybe for carrying the old caskets on the shoulders. Some people say you need a padding or whatever, but it's not a religious thing. It's not a religious thing.
Tell them about the concrete liner too. Concrete liner.
Yes. Sorry. Okay, I can't hear. Wait, one at a time. Sorry. Yes.
We didn't have running water before, so people just gathered in the village.
Yeah, this is kind of like a modern interpretation that has been added to kind of get away from the superstition, but the root of it is the superstition. Yeah, because not everybody was grave digging. You had specific grave.
You're gonna eat, so then you're like, but I guess I'm looking.
Then why not just go to the washroom and wash your hands? Why have a special jug? Yeah.
They should be allowed.
I've heard this interpretation, but I think it's a very modern one because in the villages they still say it that you're washing off the death, right? And from Tokokatia they were saying you're washing off the death. So this is the kind of thing. Maybe it was practical once upon a time and it morphed into something else, but that's still not good because it's teaching us something that is against our faith because there is no such thing as washing death off. Just like they say, don't go straight home after. Have you heard this one? Don't go straight home because you don't want that death to follow you. So everybody goes to Tim Hortons. And that's why Tim Horton died young. I don't know when he died. I'm just making it up. Who was? Well, okay, you're gonna force people with them. Yeah, so I teach it slowly, but it takes time, right? You can't force people. I know it's habits, right? So, and there's other things that we've taken from like Muslims, from Jewish like traditions, because we were living with all these people under Turkish occupation. So we've taken a lot of things that have nothing to do with the Orthodox faith, and a lot of times they're against the Orthodox faith, but we still do them, right? So like I saw one time I was in Winnipeg, and they were bringing the féretro in, the casket, for the viewing, because in Winnipeg they would always do the viewings in the church, which was nice, the night before. So they would bring. So like I was standing like in the narthex, right, in the nartheca, and they were bringing the casket in, and there were some ladies next to me, and one of them sneezed, and the other one goes, tear your clothing, like your shirt, rip it. I'm like, What? And she goes, you sneezed, and if you sneeze, when the casket's going by, it's bad luck, so you have to tear your clothing. I'm like,
Okay, you need to do me a favor and do
So-
a old wives' tale.
well, I do some of these already. Like I have some of them already on
A
there.
whole episode.
I will.
Old wives' tale.
I have Mythbusters on there. I've done Orthodox Mythbusters number 1 and 2. I got to do number 3 and 4. But you don't tear like, and I know where the tearing of the clothing is because it's an old Jewish custom of when you were in mourning or you're in distress, they would tear their garments. But this has nothing to do with our faith, right? The sneezing, I don't know what's going on there. Like it's just, but people do like these things and they feel like it's I don't know where they got it from, right? So again, move away from these things because they're not they're not good, right? I swear I hijacked your whole thing.
No. Just remind about the you already talked about it in another.
Oh yeah. So okay. So if you see the whole theme of what Sia has been teaching you tonight, it's like we come from the earth and we have to go back to the earth. This is the whole point, right? From the earth. Like if you read Genesis, God makes us from the earth, right? From pilo, clay, but it's the earth, right? It's all like a sculptor, right? And so the imagery is that we come from the earth, we are the stuff of the earth, and we go back to the earth. This is the natural return back, right? And of course, in the resurrection, God will reform us again, right? So people say, well, I'm going to go in the earth, I'm going to be like, I'm going to decompose, right? So what's the difference? Yeah, well, there is a difference, though, because the whole point is that in Genesis, God is creating, right? And then what happens after he creates? We sin. So we mess up the creation. We're the fallen creation now, right? So in the second coming, God will recreate again, right? Ananeoni, right? So he's going to do it again, but this time it's going to be permanent. It's going to be perfect, right? The resurrection again, the bodily resurrection, right? So this is very important that we follow these traditions. This is why sorry guys, for those of you who have already pre-planned or done it, don't do vaults. Don't put your loved ones in cement liners. I know sometimes we do it. Okay, don't feel bad if you didn't know, right? It's not like I'm going to yell at you at the funeral, right? But don't do that. Don't put them in a cement, the liners? The cemeteries push it on you because they want to make money. That's the only reason. And they prey on people who are in distress. And they say, you know why the cemeteries do this? Some cemeteries, like little cemeteries up in the villages, believe it or not, they have a bylaw. You have to have it. That's a different story. Sometimes you have to. Okay. But a lot of cemeteries, they don't have to have it. They do it because it's like $1,500, $1,700 to buy it, right? And they say to you when you're in pain, they say, oh, don't you want to get a nice liner so that your person's not going to decompose and the casket's not going to cave in and you're going to preserve them. And the other person in their pain, it sounds good, right? Like, why would I not want to preserve my loved one? But you don't want to preserve your loved one. You want your loved one to disintegrate, to go back into the earth. When you stick them in a liner, they're sealed. They can't decompose, right? So this is a problem. So we want to move away from those things. I tell people, if you've already bought it, go get a refund. Get rid of it, right? And so this is why we don't do these things. And of course, the elephant in the room, I'm going to say it because you got to hear it. Don't cremate. Don't burn your loved ones. I don't care if people think we're doing it now. We're not. It's not the official position of the Orthodox Church, right? I don't care if even some priests are for it. Doesn't make it right. The official position of the Orthodox Church and of every patriarchate, including our ecumenical patriarchate, which we're under, is that cremation is wrong. And the reason why is not because if I burn them, how will they go to heaven? These things. No, that's not what it is. It says something about us. What kind of respect do we have for the person who's cared for us? Like if my mother passes away, okay, I want to honor her, right? I'm going to incense her, okay? I'm going to kiss her. I'm going to prepare her body. This is the hands that raised me. I'm not going to stick her in an oven. I've seen cremation. Like I've actually gone because I had a friend in Winnipeg who owned a funeral home and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, let's go see what we're talking about. Because people think it's like magical. It's like I saw this meme online. They said, oh, cremation, what people think it is, it's like a Viking funeral, with the arrow, with the flotilla, and right, so nice. It's not. Yeah, it's awful. It's like, it's an oven. They stick you in the oven. I'm sorry to be graphic, but I need to deter all of you so you can go tell people not to do it, right? And they say, oh, out of sight, out of mind. I don't have to, it's cheaper, which is also not true because if you don't have money, thank God we live in a country where we pay taxes and we have social services and they will bury you for free if you have to. So there's no excuse not to do it, right? Or not to do a proper burial, right? You can always do a proper burial. So money is not an issue in Canada. And even if there is an issue, you come to the church and we'll help you, right? Okay, but you do it right because you stick the person in the oven. It burns the person. The bones don't burn because bones don't burn. So what do you do with the bones? No, bones don't burn. Bones are very strong. Bones don't burn. So you pull out a skeleton. What do you do with a skeleton? It's actually called a pulverizer, not a grinder, but it's a grinder, right? And then you do that, and then you take basically that and a little dust, and they put you in a little bag, and they put you in a little box, and they say, here you go. But they don't tell you that. They don't tell you the process, because if people knew what the process was, they would be disgusted by it. And they would say, this is what I'm doing to my loved ones, right? Sorry, Agapimon, why are you in here? Right? So the point is that, but even if you didn't know any of those things, right? If you're going to cremate, right? Then everything we're doing here means nothing. All this symbolism, all this beautiful tradition that's like 1,500 years old, right? Why do it? Why? We're not the seed anymore. We're the ash. Yeah. There's no such thing as ashes to ashes. That's not in the Bible. You say ashes to ashes, that's like an Anglican hymnal. It's not even in the Bible. But anyways, so we have to be very careful. So people, like, not a lot of Greeks do it, but more and more Greeks want to do it, right? And sometimes you even hear, I'm not going to, whatever, you're going to hear some priests say, the birazi, I'll do the funeral with the body there, and then they can go burn them. I'm like, okay, so all the hymns in the funeral service, almost all of them, are about the body and how beautiful it is and how it's an icon, right? It is the temple of the Holy Spirit and how it's going back into the earth. So I'm going to pray lies and then I'm going to go burn them? Like, you're literally chanting lies if you're going to allow that.
But
there are circumstances, of course. Okay, there are always circumstances, and that, of course, there are always exceptions when there are situations you can't get out of, right? But that's between the family and the priest and the bishop sometimes, whatever, right? But the point is that you can always find, like, put the circumstances, the exceptions aside. Put the 1% on the side. And the 99%, you can always go find somebody who's going to do it for you. We all know this, right? If one papa's not going to do it, you can go down the street and you can find another papa who's going to do it. That doesn't make it right. I tell people, it's like some people, they come and they say, Father, I want to do this and this. I said, Akuste, like, this is not right. I can't do it. Like, I love you. I explain the whole thing in a nice way. And sometimes they say, okay, bye-bye. I said, yeah, you can go somewhere else. And they'll get it done. It's too close, right? Like, because we're human beings, we're all flawed, right? But I told them, yeah, you can go. I tell them, you can go find a papa. And you can probably find one if you call around who, like in any faith, right? But that's not good for your soul. Don't try to cheat the church or try to cheat, like, yourselves, right? Like, do the proper, but usually this happens when we are disconnected from this. We don't know these things, right? We don't know anything about these traditions, and we say, the biraji. End of rant, signomi, right? Because I know some people will disagree with me, but this is very deep, our tradition, right? And if you're going to start burning people, just throw all this stuff out. Gone. Get rid of it, right? Yeah. Sorry, Sia.
No, that's okay.
Continue.
Is this, I know each
yeah, no,
everything is different size.
Thank you.
Is this average size, or are you asked for a bigger size? Or
This
like
is
big
our
enough?
large size, and that's our small size.
Oh, so
Yeah.
good enough.
We have regular parishioner size, and we have Father Ted size. But tuto halasis.
Yeah.
Hello. Thank you.
Just have a clarification.
Yes.
For the 9 days or 40 days, you look beside
Oh, yeah, good question. Yeah, so when you're doing like the 9 days or 40 days, you can bring some plain Koliva, but you don't have to. It's just a trisayo prayer. So it's just the priest and you, and like you do the trisayo prayer, right? No, don't take wine and oil to the cemetery. There's no reason for it. I've even seen some people, I don't know if it was Cypriots, I'm not trying to bash the Cypriots, but where they bring water and they want to pour like a drink like a bukalaki neraki, and they want to pour that on the gravesite, which I've only seen a few times, but I don't know where that comes from either. I'm like, the dead person's not thirsty. They don't care. It's drosero, I don't know, it's fresh. It's, I don't know, right? So it's weird. It's just, it's a, one more clarification. People ask me, do I need to do memorial at the church and at the cemetery? No, you don't have to. People think you have to. I'm not going to say why that developed because it's going to bash the papadas, and I don't want that on the video. Okay, but I'm just telling you, okay, that you do not need to do both. I always tell people it's better to do it at the church. Why? Because communal prayer, mazi, is more powerful, right? Safety in numbers, right? So we come together and we pray together. It's more powerful. When you have 600 people praying for your loved one, it's beautiful. Then when you're alone. But if you choose for some reason, I can't go, whatever reason, I don't want to go to the church for the sarada, right? I just want to go to the cemetery. That's fine. The papa can go with you there, and you can do the tisayo there. It's the same prayer, guys. So some people say, Pater, you did the memorial on Sunday, Pepe natisque su cimitirio. Or else it's not. I'm like, it's the same prosofia just did. It's not like I'm lazy. It's just, well, if I have like 15 mysteria and I can't come, the people get upset. It's like, well, you already did the memorial at the church. You just want to duplicate. So it's not bad to go to the cemetery, but it's not aparetito to do that. Do one or the other. And it's better to be at the church. That's yeah, but I'm saying that the prosofia higini. Yeah. Well, it's comforting for people to go to the gravesite. It's good. It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying it's not mandatory. You don't have to do both. A lot of people think you have to do both, right? Anyways, go on. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm just gonna. So now, like, it's in the church. People come and like pay their respects. They light their candles, and then at the end, are we going to talk about the service at all, or do you want to say anything about what's actually the actual service?
Well, the actual service of the memorial that we're doing is hymns for the dead. Like, I don't know how much breakdown we're going to do.
Yeah. So then afterwards, obviously,
every Sunday.
Yeah, you take it either to your hall or to the back, and again, like the way that I've always been told is I hate this part, but
it's so pretty. It's so pretty.
You always do it in the cross again. And you mix it because, as you remember, there's no sugar underneath, right? So.
Now it gets messy. Yeah.
And then you disperse it.
Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah.
And then we start passing it around.
Yeah. Here it's passing. Latte. Sure.
If there's anyone who does want to order any crosses or the initials, I'm gonna leave my bag that I had it in. It has my
start passing them back towards the back.
My phone number, my
oh yes, right.
Handle. Anybody wants to
there we go.
grab it and put spoons in it.
Coordinate, ladies. Coordinate. There you go. Any other questions that we have while we're passing out Koliva? They're tasty. No other questions? Any other questions we have while we're doing this? No? About death? It's my favorite topic. I'm serious. It's my favorite topic.
Because it's so rife with traditions and that are
the funeral service. The funeral service is my favorite service. I know it sounds morbid, right? It's my favorite. It's my favorite service out of all the Orthodox services. The funeral service. I love funerals. People say that's morbid. That's dark. It's like I love it the most. Why? Why would I? Besides the fact that it's beautiful, right? If you actually read and you hear the prayers and the beautiful hymns, they're very, very beautiful. There's a lot of depth there, right? But that's not only the reason, because all our services are beautiful. The wedding service is beautiful. The baptism service is beautiful, all right? But I love the funeral service the most. You know why? No, it has nothing to do with the person who died. Why do you think I love the funeral service the most as a priest over all the other services? No? You're on the right track. It has to do with the family?
Hope. The hope that it
No, it's not. Well, yes, hope, but no. What? No, you might be right. Nobody gets involved. They get involved. They get involved. It's because at funerals, it's unfortunately, it's the reality though, is that at baptisms, at weddings, let's say, let's start weddings. Weddings these days are very frou-frou and fake, and nobody's paying attention to the actual service, and it's all about what we're wearing and this and that. It becomes very, very secular. Even the Orthodox Church, nobody cares. I hate to say it, but the reality is most weddings, they're like that. Baptisms are becoming that way too. It's about the labada. It's about in Greece, it's even really bad. How am I going to stolisi the kolibithra? I'm going to hang Mickey Mouse off of it. I'm going to do all these things. Everything except the actual sacrament itself, what's going on, right? But funerals is when people are serious. It's when people come face to face with their lives, right? And with death. And they're ready to hear. And that's why it's so important to properly sermonize the funerals, right? Because that it's not just a fear. It's more. It's real. It's like you're not gonna joke so much. It's not a party. and people are ready to actually listen, right? So believe it or not, I've got a ton of people who have become Orthodox Christians as adults, converts, because they went to an Orthodox funeral. Because they loved our funeral so much. Yeah. Okay. One at a time, yes. Yes. One question first. Don't you know me? Yeah, you're waiting. Sorry, guys. Just calm it down a bit so I can hear the questions. In the corner, please.
When somebody passes away,
Yeah.
they die now.
Yeah.
Are they being judged? Do they get judged?
That's a big question. So
When do they get judged?
the easiest thing to do is go back to Scripture itself. So what does Jesus say? Does Jesus talk about that?
He says, what I've heard, second coming when he comes again.
That's right. So that's all he talks about in the Bible. In the Bible, especially in the New Testament, the only thing that Christ talks about is he speaks about death, of course, physical death, and then he speaks about the second coming. Which, right? Exactly. So this is the problem. This is the problem that we have, right? The problem is that because Christ doesn't speak about it, right? Christ doesn't talk about it.
Yes.
The interim, the middle part, right? So we have a problem with this as people because we want to know what's going on, right? And so you have, over the centuries, you have different people, different saints, different fathers give opinions. We call them theologumena. Theologumena is a theological opinion that is not official teaching of the church, right? And we have that category, we say theologumeno, because it's not dogmatic, it's not an official teaching. Why is it not official teaching? Because you can't know. So you have some fathers who talk about soul sleep. For example, you die and it's like you're asleep, right? Until the resurrection. Some fathers have that metaphor in their writings. Other fathers talk about like almost like a foretaste, like a pre-judgment. You can't have a full judgment because the second coming hasn't happened yet, right? Right. So it's almost like do you kind of get a taste of where you're going to be going, right? Other fathers have much more complex theological kind of speculations, right? But the point is that all this stuff, it's not official teaching of the church, right? Well, we don't. The interim state, there's no official teaching on the interim state. A lot of people have a problem with this because a lot of people say, whatever it is, the telonia, toll houses, we're going through the toll houses and there's the angel and this and that. All these things are theologumena. They're not official teaching of the church. And this is a problem when we present them. There's a book, there's a whole 700-page book that was, I'm not going to say where it came from, right? From a certain monastery that presents the toll houses as official teaching of the church. And it's even signed by a bunch of bishops. But it's not official teaching. And the reason why I'm saying this is not because I don't care. Like, all these different imagery that we have can be useful to contemplate the afterlife and things like that. But the problem is that when you make it dogma, when you say Aftini Daskalites Ecclesias, right? Well, you have a problem because you have different fathers which contradict each other, right? Okay, so who's right? Are you sleeping? Are you going through the telonia? Are you, what about the saints? Where are they? We believe that they're somehow in heaven. Well, how does that work? Right? Because the saints, if they're with God, but there's no final judgment yet, how is Panagia with Christ? But she is. So there's a paradox, right? So I don't have an answer to this because the church does not have an official position on this, right? And I would say that I think that the afterlife is so much more profound than anything we can understand that we're not meant to understand these things. That's why we're trying to come up with structures. Napume, okay, why is this? How is this happening? Where's my papu? Well, maybe my papu doesn't have to be where because there's no time where they're going. We're in time. God's outside of time. Can you conceive of what it's like to be outside of time? I can't. Right? Right? So if the souls go to, like, say, the spiritual realm, which there is no time, maybe there's no passage of time there. Maybe there is no where are they until. Maybe you die and you wake up to the resurrection instantly. You ever think about, like, right? But that's why you cannot have an official position on this, right? And people want to have an official position because people are afraid. And when they're afraid of the unknown, they want to have an explanation, right? And so even papadas, we say, oh, well, ako siya go afto, yeah, okay, ala είναι επίσημη διδασκαλία, δεν είναι. There's no canons on it.
But in the Bible, Christ did say that when the
Yeah.
When everyone will be
Yeah,
judged,
that's at the end. Yeah,
like the dead will rise.
100%. You cannot be judged until you resurrect. Η κρίση πρέπει να γίνει όταν είμαστε ενσωματωμένοι. It cannot happen. That's a very important point. People think that we have this almost like a Platonic. Anyone know what Platonic means? Plato. It's like that the body is garbage and the soul is important. That's not true. That's actually heresy. Your body and your soul are together. God made us as one. We say hypostasi. We mean like a living being, right? Just like Christ is. We're one hypostasi. Body and soul are together. It's not like body and soul in a cup, like in a holder, right? It's not like your body is holding your soul, and then the body is dead and the soul floats away, like in the movies with the harp, and you go up to heaven with the clouds. This is not. No, when you die, half of you is incapacitated now. Right? You're not full person anymore. You're half a person. That's why you need to resurrect. That's why Christ resurrects his body. It's not. You're not ghosts. There's no ghosts. Right? The soul is kept alive by the grace of God until the second coming, when you will resurrect. You will be a full human being, and then you will stand judgment. That's why you can't repent after death, because you're not a full human being anymore. Very different theology than what people think. Right? Yeah.
So what body form do you take? The age that you passed on?
The body you have now.
Whatever age you die.
I don't know. When we get there, I'll let you know. I have no clue. What people start asking these questions. Am I 30? Am I in my prime? I'd like to be when I was 25. Right? When I got married, I was 135 pounds. What else? Right? I don't want to resurrect 300 pound Father Ted. Right? Like, obviously. But yes, I don't know who was first. Okay, one. Oh man, okay.
Let's say you make too much and you got a lot left over.
You give it to me.
You yourself. Okay, give it to you. But
Did you have some?
let's say you make too much.
So it's already mixed. The sugar.
Sapulaka. Anything you have that is extra, Kolyva, extra, didoro, in nature, not in the garbage.
Right.
Because the garbage goes to landfill.
Where it won't get
In
trampled
nature,
too?
yeah.
Yeah.
Where people don't walk. Garden, foundation of the house, the pulaka will come and eat, nature will take it. They love this.
When someone passes away, this is good. So, because I argue with my mother
You do?
a lot
Okay.
with this stuff, right? Because to her everything is, and I said to her, mine's written in the Bible and whatever.
Not everything is written in the Bible.
No, not
but
everything.
No,
That's
that's
valid.
argument with her.
That's our argument. But anyway, when someone passes away and you start counting the days, you can't start counting from the day after, right?
No, the day of.
The
The
day
day
of.
of? Okay, so
Day of the
that's
death.
not, hasn't been 24 hours.
Who cares?
Who cares? Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
these are Pharisaical kind of things. Like, is it before? Is it after?
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well,
When
the
I
reason
think
I
of that,
asked
though,
is-
it helps me when I think of Easter. Good Friday or Holy Friday is Friday. We have Easter on Sunday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
It's on the third day, not after full 3 days.
Okay. But because
Right?
one priest
So-
told me you start counting from the day after.
I've never heard this before in my life.
It
Maybe he's right and I'm wrong. I'm just telling you, I've
but
never
it
heard
was-
this before.
It was a priest. Anyway, because I got yelled
Thank
at
you
at the
for coming.
cemetery. Going Yamero, we did it a day late. We did this. We did that. This is why I clarified.
These things are
Doesn't matter.
again. It's like
Before or after
we
doesn't
get
matter.
caught up. So these are the kind of things that Christ yelled at the Pharisees for,
Yeah.
because they're like swallowing a camel and straining out a gnat. Like he's saying like you're worrying about the minutia, but don't and you forget about the spirit of the law, right?
Yeah.
So this is the problem. So somebody was asking me on Sunday, yesterday was Sunday, yeah, today's Monday. They were asking me in the youth discussion afterwards. They were saying, if I take communion, how many hours until I can spit, or what if I cut myself? I'm like, guys, these are questions that we shouldn't care about, because when you take Christ into you, He becomes all of you. How many hours until I can what? Yeah, it's like I can't go to the washroom because like these are things like people we laugh, but people ask these questions. They say it's not like it's like don't do this, don't do that, don't kiss people because you might, God forbid, spread Jesus to somebody else. Oh, it's a sin, right? These are things like we be respectful, of course. You're not going to go like spit at something. Like, why are you spitting in the first place, right? But people say, do I lose the sanctity? These things are Pharisaical. We're not supposed to think this way, right? You and then yes. Oh, good question. We're going to organ donation now. This is death, I guess. Is death. Organ donation. Τα όργανα, όταν πεθαίνεις. So, believe it or not, even though you're going to hear a lot of different opinions in the Orthodox Church about this, the official position is there's nothing wrong with organ donation. There's nothing wrong with it. As long as you have the body. Don't give the body away. Like the whole body. Like you say, I give my whole body to science. You can't do a funeral. Right? But there's nothing technically wrong with donating your organs as long as it's done with respect. And I say that because there's places where it's not done with respect. But to save another human being, there's nothing wrong with that. In death, there's nothing wrong with that, as long as the body is respected, right? And then you also have the body back, so they're not like taking the body away and then you don't have a funeral. There's no closure. There's no nothing, right? We would not. So this is like a bioethical issue. A lot of bioethicists, Orthodox, have written about this, and the general consensus, because it's a new thing in the Orthodox Church. It's like, okay, new thing. It's like 50, 60 years old, whatever, more than that, but it's recent in the 2,000 years of the church, right? But the general consensus is that, yes, of course, you can help another human being, right? As long as the body is not mutilated and is not like, and then, again, people start asking, whoa, in the resurrection, will I be missing my eyes or my kidney? It's like, no, God can recreate your, like, these are things that, yeah. Yes, another question over there.
Oh, my question was when we do 30
Yeah.
Do we help that
Good question.
Is it helping them?
Good question. Well, it is helping us. Yeah. Yeah.
But do our prayers help them? Like when they get judged again? Are we helping them?
Yes. So there's a very good question because a lot of people ask this too, right? What is it doing? It's a very Western question, right? Is it, what? No, not your fault. I mean, we live in the West, but it's a Western question. Like, what am I doing here? Like, I put the quarter in. I want the candy, right? I do the prayer. I want the result. I'm worried that my kid, was a bad person and they're going to go wherever. I'm going to do like Sarada Liturgo so I can get them to heaven. These things are vlakias. Why are they vlakias? Because it's because we love them that we want to do these things. But in the end, God's going to do what he's going to do. And you're going to say, well, then why even pray? Because we're a family. And we live in hope, perpetual hope all the time. Right? So even though God's going to do whatever he wants, right, it doesn't hurt to ask. So we always ask because we love. And by showing God that we love them, and because he's loving, we believe that he's going to hear us. But we don't get into the minutia. How many liturgies did I do? Did I get them out of this? And this? Again, you're going to hear things from papadas. You're going to hear this from other people, like whatever. But these are, again, we should be very careful what we say as priests. Like, what is our personal opinion? What I thought because Dwakus Apokapion, and what is the official teaching of the church, right? And so it's like where's my papu and where's? I don't ask those questions. I do my kathikon. I do my duty. I do my memorials for him. I pray to God that he takes care of him, and I pray to God that he shows mercy on his soul. Pera poki, not my business, right? After that, I think it's sinful to start thinking about other things, right? Yes.
What about miscarriages?
Yeah. What about them? They happen
I know they happen.
many times.
But are there prayers?
There are prayers for miscarriage. Yes. Yeah, there are prayers for healing. There are prayers for of course, we have our the priest service book. It starts at the beginning of life and goes all the way to the end and beyond, right? So it starts like all these things are in there. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a horrible thing to go through, and of course we need every stage in our lives, good or bad. There's prayers for all of it, right? And so we should always be accompanying every event that happens in our lives by prayer. So if I want to get pregnant, go to the priest. There's a prayer for that too. For good and gimosini. If I got pregnant and I want to have a healthy pregnancy, there's a prayer for that too, right? Because we're praying together as a family, right? If I lost the pregnancy for whatever reason, there's a prayer for healing and for comfort, right? Right? And for the healing of the person, right? To be able to continue on and to try it again. So all these things exist, right? And but the problem is, I find like that today we tend to kind of go it alone, right? We have a problem, and then the church. At least the presence of the church is the last resort, right? Did you notice that? You get sick, go to the doctor first, go to the pills, go to everything else, which you should do, obviously. And then, everything didn't work. You call the papa. Okay, right? Which is horrible. Because then it's like the papa is the Grim Reaper. You call him at the end.
But you should be doing a funeral, though, like if you can, with any kind of, if it's a later term, like miscarriage.
It depends. These are very difficult kind of questions. Yeah, like when was it, how fully developed, all these kind of things. There's no clear answer for that because it's a, I don't want to use the word spectrum, but like it's a continuum, right? Like some miscarriages are very, very early. There's nothing to bury, and some of them are not. So all these kind of things are. It's best discussed with your priest, with the family, and it's nobody else's business. You know what I mean? There are funerals that we do. No, we have funerals for unbaptized infants. Yeah, it's different. It's different. It's a different service. Like for example, this is interesting. You don't call the child a servant of God if they're unbaptized. Not because you're punishing them. They're just not a servant of God because they haven't been baptized. It's a qualification, right? You say like the child of God. It's called yeah. So different words, but you still bury, of course. Yeah, there's a preference. Yeah.
Even if you did an air baptism,
If you did that, that's a different story.
that's a baptism.
But not everybody.
No, but that is.
Yeah, there's
that would be
emergency
considered?
baptism.
Okay.
Yeah, there's emergency baptism.
My cousin, she was baptized in the hospital.
Yeah.
The doctors didn't know she was going to be.
Yeah.
So, like,
And that's
right
a-
after
the-
she was born.
yeah. If you call the papa and he goes to the hospital, and he baptizes your child.
Yeah.
The child's baptized. You don't do another baptism later.
No.
People say, "Can I do another one later?" Nah, I'm like, no.
Don't wait for the
Baby's
baby to be
baptized,
sick.
right? Yeah.
They didn't know she was
Yeah.
gonna make it.
Use the name?
The name does not come with the baptism.
No, if it's
Yeah, but the name is yeah, you can do that, but the name usually is given on the some kids don't make it to the eighth day, right? The eighth day is the day you give the name. People don't know that. People think, I don't know why, another myth.
Yes.
People think that you get your name at baptism. You do not. You get your name on the eighth day blessing, which nobody does. I do it, but a lot of people don't know to call me to do it. You have the first day when you give birth for the mother to heal. You have the eighth day. You give the name. Why? Because the Jews circumcise the males on the eighth day and give the name. Christ was a Jew. He got his name on the eighth day, and we follow the life of Christ. Right?
Well, the problem with that is
Just a prayer. No, I come to the house.
That's the registration.
The mother can't come out yet. She's still healing, right? So the priest comes to the hospital if she's still in the hospital, or you go to the house. And I've done it for many people. It's just a lot of people don't know to call me. So most people just jump ahead to the 40 because they didn't even know. I did a video about this.
well, see, the thing is, the hospital, they make you name the child before you leave.
You can't. You can give a name. It's fine. When you go to Saladismo, don't you call out the name?
Yes.
Baby has a name. So I don't know why in Greece sometimes, especially like in Crete and stuff, they call the baby Bebi until the baptism. It's weird.
Last year
It's weird.
in Greece, we went and they wouldn't tell us what this kid must have been almost 2 years old, and they didn't tell us the baby's name. They kept calling him.
Where are the priests to say your kid has a name from the eighth day? Yeah.
In my mom's village, that's what would
Not
happen.
true.
Someone would run home to tell the
They already have
parent,
no.
tell the
This
mother
is
what her
bizarre
kid was
things.
named.
You must have heard it, like it's. I don't know. You see what I'm saying? And I don't know why like we don't correct these things either. Like why is it just rampant everywhere in Greece? Or you know how they say like the mother wants to get out before the 40 days, so they go for the misiyevki. Have you heard this? They say, yeah, I want to go out 20 days because I want to get out. There's no half blessing. There's no half blessing, and you can go out.
Well, that's what
During the daylight?
You can go out.
During daylight?
You can go out. Yeah, you can go out.
No, I would know.
Yeah.
My grandmother had her work, but
Another one. Yes. What time is it? Yeah, it's getting late. Okay. Well, you would donate before you were embalmed. We shouldn't be doing it. It's a necessary evil. Embalming is when what we do everybody, not everyone, including priests, like everyone. In Canada, you get them, except for very few people. Actually, no, that's not true. The Jews don't do it, and neither do the Muslims because they stick to their guns and we don't. Right? We're not supposed to be embalming our bodies. What is embalming? Embalming is when, not to get nitty gritty, you drain all the fluids and you put chemicals in to preserve the body so that you don't decompose. It slows down the decomposition process, right? So you can do a viewing days later. If you don't do embalming, then you can only do a viewing literally the next day, maybe 2 days max. Talk about this, right?
which is why in Greece
This is why in Greece, well, always traditionally, person dies, you wash their body, you dress them, you do prayers with the family and the priest for the wash, which we don't do, of course. We do that stuff right now, which we should be doing. And then you bury them the next day, and then you're doing your 3-day memorial the next day, and the person's body keeps that long. But now, when you're doing 5-6 days later, if you don't embalm, you can't open the casket. right? Trust me, I've seen it, right? So the thing is that we're in a system here in Canada and North America and a lot of places where because we delay and we have preparations, we have people coming from out of town, we have all these things, we embalm everybody. The reason why we're not supposed to be is because for us, it's the blood is sacred. Part of our body is the life force, right? And you're draining it and it's going in the gutter. It goes in the sewers, right? It doesn't go into like a biohazard thing, right? So it's not ideal, but right? Like if you're gonna do a papa's funeral, right? A priest's funeral involves bishops coming from out of town. You're gonna do a divine liturgy. People want to venerate the priest. You know what I mean, right? The body will not keep, so you embalm. No. I'm not putting bodies outside the bowl.
No, I know.
Maybe. Well, if you're doing organ donation, they would take the organs immediately at death, if they're able. The person's like in a position where they would die like that, and then you would embalm. You could choose. You can always choose not to embalm. If we actually stuck to our guns, we would insist the funeral homes that, and we would insist with ourselves, our own communities, that when somebody dies, we're burying the next day. But we don't do that. We don't care.
I know that.
Yeah, we do it for priests, for example. When priests die, only priests can prep the body. Well, but still, they embalm them first, and then I've been part of the team that does this for not all the priests do it, right? So the priest will go and they'll wash the body and they'll have to vest the person in full vestments and pick them up and put them in the thing and put the gospel on them, all the stuff, and the whole process, right? And only priests can do that for other priests. So it's a beautiful thing, very, very beautiful thing. But technically, we should be doing that for everybody. But we don't have the infrastructure for it here. This week, I have 7 funerals. Wow. 7 in 8 days. When am I going to go and do? I would need a whole team of people, and I would need at least 3 priests in this parish. Actually, I need 3 priests right now, so anybody want to know anybody? And, you can't keep up with everybody, let alone do all this stuff. But we should be. That's the problem.
People dress the loved ones.
Yeah, but we don't do it here because it's almost impractical for us in the size of parish that we are in. It's not impossible, but it would require a radical shift.
I've seen like family.
100%, yeah. Well, in Greece they still do because in Greece there are funeral homes now, but not so many, and still even in Athens, in the particular neighborhoods, like my aunt, who's Menona as well, who lives in Athens, she's the one that they call to go wash the body and dress because she's not squeamish. Right? Yeah, they're just in the home because she's supposed to be in the home.
Here, if it wasn't for all the delays, you could skip the embalming. But if you want to skip the embalming now, because of all the delays,
yeah, of course,
you're having a closed casket.
There's
no open casket option at that point because the decay sets in.
Yeah, so you have to work fast, and there's all these things. But we become accustomed to doing these things because culturally we've moved away.
But it's not just with everything outside because when my friend passed away last month, all the priests were at extension.
Sure. Okay.
So we had to
again, we should have a backup.
That's what I mean. Like it's not just So there was no option at that point.
Well, there would because some of you
It wasn't an option. Put it that way. We're not given an option.
I would have come back. But the point is that you have to redistribute everything. Yeah. Okay, we're almost. I think we're way past.
That's it.
Any more last burning questions? No. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sia.
Thank you, Sia.
Thank you very much.
And yes.